This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your source for the latest Iowa ag news headlines right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, Mark Magnuson, and Andy Peterson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Dustin.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Huffman. Today is Tuesday, January the 28th, 2025. So glad you could join us. Coming up a little later on in today's show, we're going to talk with Kenan Layden of agmarket.net to find out what happened in those grain and livestock markets today. But first, we kick things off today with Iowa Ag Secretary Mike Naig. With the state legislative session underway and the governor delivering her condition of the state report, the secretary outlines for us some of his priorities for this legislative session at the Iowa Department of Agriculture. We're here on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and time to sit down with our monthly chat with Iowa Ag Secretary Mike Naig. And Secretary, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Always great to catch up, and I guess this is the first time we've talked in the new year, so I guess I can still wish you a happy new year.
Well, happy new year to you as well. And of course, January almost over, and that means we have a new Congress sitting, we have a new president in the White House, and we have a legislative session underway in Iowa. Of course, we had the the condition of the state report with Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds. And so now let's kind of look at that legislative session. What kind of things are you looking at from the IDAL's point of view?
I'm really excited about this session. I think it really kicked off on a high note with the governor, her condition of the state address, really laying out a bold agenda, a lot of which included some things that will benefit, all Iowans, but certainly rural Iowans, things like focusing on childcare and health care and making sure we've got quality education all across the state, trying to continue to, play a leadership role when it comes to being a place that people want to come and move a family and start a business, keeping taxes low, high quality of living. Those are the types of things that we need to be thinking about in the broader sense, the legislature. For the Department of Ag, it's going to be a year that largely focuses on budgets. And, that's the number one issue that we will work through. And we're asking for some support for our work around foreign animal disease, response and preparedness. We've been dealing with high path avian influenza the last 3 years, but also trying to stay proactive on things like African swine fever and foot and mouth disease, and that work just never ends. And we keep doing more and more, and so we need the support to do that. So we'll have a strong ask for our work around supporting the animal industries, always wanting to continue our momentum on water quality and soil conservation. Set another record last year, 3 years in a row for soil conservation work getting done in the state of Iowa, and that only happens because we've got the ability to invest in that, put the people on the ground to do the work. So we'll continue to ask for strong water quality and soil conservation budgets as well. And then you and I know, have talked about our Choose Iowa programming, but we're gonna go to the next level when it comes to Choose Iowa. We're pushing 175 members now today. That's up from just 150 at the end of December. So nearly every day we're adding members and a lot of exciting things happening there. So we'll ask for some continued support and an increase, in fact, for Choose Iowa. But, from a policy standpoint, maybe looking at some changes to the grain indemnity fund in the state of Iowa, a few minor changes and tweaking a few pieces of code language here and there. But really, it's going to be dominated by the budget, I believe, this session.
And of course, you brought up HPAI, and I'm not saying obviously the wintertime is usually our downtime, but they were late getting going, those birds. We know just last month they were moving south, and with today we're talking temperatures that are going to be close to 60 degrees as you and I are talking here. I've already seen V's flying north already. So, we don't seem like we had a whole lot of downtime. Whether that stays that way or not, we don't know. But, right now, really, really no time, and we got to keep staying on guard as those birds are kind of moving back and forth trying to figure out where they want to stay.
It's true. We had we had a beautiful fall, great for harvest, but not so good from a migratory standpoint. And what we are seeing, though, is that clearly birds are moving south because, unfortunately, our neighbors to the south, the Missouri, has had a significant number of high path cases just in the last 30 days. I know that my colleague in Georgia is now dealing with it for the first time. So we know that it's pushing south and still affecting flocks. Now in the state of Iowa, it's been quiet, knock on wood, since the beginning of January. And you're right, this is typically a time where we'll see a lull. And, I'm not one that says, well, it's inevitable that it'll fly back north again this spring. But unfortunately, the last 3 years have taught us that has been the case. So we will certainly be ready for it. And I think unfortunately, what we're learning is that we're never really out of the woods when it comes to this. It's basically a year-round threat now. But again, the timing of that migration does impact. Now you continue to see both high path cases in poultry, but also we're continuing to see cases in dairy herds, particularly out west. California continues to really just be dealt with as significant blows on this. A huge percent of their dairy industry has been detected positive. We're actually doing some testing along with other states in the country. This is not just something that Iowa is doing, but we're looking at our dairy herds to try to determine where it is. And the good news is that through the whole month of January, as we've been doing testing, we do not find any positive cases in the state of Iowa. Not saying it's not here, not saying we won't find it. But the good news is that we've gone through a significant percent of the dairy industry and we find no positive cases. So that's good. That's promising for us. But hey, we have to watch and see, especially as we head into spring.
We'll have more with Iowa Ag Secretary Mike Naig in future Ag Matters PM episodes. We're going to take a short break and hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. When we come back, we'll talk with Kenan Layden of agmarket.net. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net. Welcome back to Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Huffman, and we're talking right now with Kenan Layden of agmarket.net here at the close of the trading day. And Kenan, what did we see come out of those grain markets today?
Yeah, Dustin, it was, as far as large-scale news, it was kind of a slow day. Markets crept higher after, the down day yesterday on a few different news stories. I think some of the weather runs today might have been a little drier in that southern Brazil, Argentina area, but the market seems to maybe not think that's as big of concern. Some of the outside markets yesterday, with that DeepSeek news, equities were down really hard in some of the outside markets. And that kind of maybe led to some weakness in the grain markets. And we came back today a little bit, but then weakened here at the end of the day. Wheat was kind of the leader today, and that could be some of that technical in nature, kind of reaching some of those lower levels and bouncing off, which those wheat contracts have traded up. And also that European Matif contract was stronger too.
So going forward, is there anything we're really going to keep an eye on, or is it just mostly South American weather and trade news?
South American weather and trade news. One of the last things I saw is that February 1st tariffs are still intended for Canada and Mexico. And so we'll have to, kind of like with that Colombia deal earlier this week, we had a Colombian tariff. Then before the market even started trading, there was no Colombian tariff. So that would be a big thing to keep the eye on and something that will move the markets. But I don't know how you really trade that besides, looking at your break evens and leaving some upside upside movement open, but protecting that break even bottom line price you have.
Okay, so switching gears to the livestock side of things, let's start with cattle. Kenan, what did we see on those markets?
Yeah, nothing stops that train in cattle market. So down a little bit yesterday after what most would call a very bullish cattle on feed report. And, some of that was, I think, associated with the equities there and that huge drop in the NASDAQ on that Chinese AI. But today they came back strong, feeders and live cattle up, and they were pulling the hogs up with them, and that train just keeps rolling. Fundamentals are strong. Mexican border hasn't reopened yet, and cash prices stay good. some of the cutout values are kind of maybe peaking, so that would be something to watch in that cattle contract. What are those cash values doing as far as the cutout values? But consumer demand has been good.
And then I know you said hogs kind of went along for the ride today, but they've had a last day or two they've been doing all right. I mean, what's been the support there?
Good question. There's some uptick in PRRS, and I don't ever want to necessarily trade something based on a disease outbreak that may or may not happen. Some of the slaughter numbers month over month may be a little bit lower too. So pork is probably at a discount to beef too, as far as a protein source and its price. But a little weaker slaughter numbers, some maybe disease worry, could be some fundamental stories that are assisting with this market. But again, cheap source of protein compared to the premium. And I guess there's been a lot of news last few days here about some of the huge flu outbreaks, the avian flu outbreaks, whether that's in Indiana, the new H5N9 that they discovered in California in a poultry duck operation. Just a few things that maybe lending support to these cattle and hog markets. And if you're a poultry producer, probably something that you don't like to see these outbreaks happening.
All right. Well, Kenan, if folks want more information or to get a little more detail on what they may want to think about for their marketing strategy, how do they get in touch with agmarket.net?
Yeah, check us out on the web at agmarket.net. Look for a broker in your area. And thank you for your time, Dustin.
All right. Thanks, Kenan. We'll see you again real soon.
Yep. Have a good one.
And that was Kenan Layden of agmarket.net. Let's go ahead and take a look at the closing numbers on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network market screen online at iowaagnet.com. At the close, March corn was up 3 1/4 at $4.85 1/4. Soybeans unchanged at $10.45 even. Soybean meal up 80 cents at $3.0160. Soy oil 13 cents higher at $45.13. Chicago wheat 9 3/4 cents higher at $5.45 1/4. Kansas wheat up 7 3/4 at $5.61 even. At press time, Minneapolis spring wheat was showing 11 1/4 cents higher at $5.97. Oats down 1 1/4 at $3.49. On the Merck February live cattle were trading $2.87 higher at $208.55. Feeders were up $3 at $278.25, and lean hogs up 85 cents at $83.90. Pork cutouts unchanged at $91.32, and Class 3 milk 43 cents higher at $20.38. And that is the end of our closing market recap, and that brings us to the end of today's show. You can find all our content again online at iowaagnet.com. Follow us on Facebook, X, and on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you can be notified each time we put out a new video project. Also, don't forget about the free market podcast with an analysis sent 3 times a day, free of charge to your mobile device at the openings, middays, and the closings. From the iAaron Studios in Des Moines, I'm Dustin Huffman. For Riley Smith, A.D. Peterson, and Mark Magnuson, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.